Guys, welcome to the Shop Build series, and in this series episode we are going to take you guys through the beginning steps of what we're doing. Now you can see behind me I've got some holes dug, you can see some string lining has happened, and you can see that there's a couple of posts made. That's good, but not everything is done, so we're going to take you guys through all those steps and show you some stuff. Now the first thing I want to talk to you guys about is saving money on diesel. Our tractor is not working, so we're saving money on diesel. And as much as I would have loved to spend the money on that diesel to dig these holes, all of these holes were dug by hand. Now guys, that is an auger. That is an auger attachment for the tractor. That is an auger attachment for our Massey Ferguson 175. And it's sitting there right next to my holes because we didn't use it. What we did do is we dug everything by hand. Now guys, having equipment to do this work, who doesn't want it? It makes this stuff so much easier. It makes this stuff go by so much quicker. It takes less wear and tear off your body. But we didn't have it. Unfortunately, our tractor is still a work in progress and it is not up and running, but that's not stopping us from doing the work. We just have to work harder. Guys, post hole diggers. This is probably one of the tools I use the most out here building this homestead. I have dug every single hole out here by hand. I have also owned that auger the entire time we've been on this property. I really need to learn how to work on tractors. So guys, don't be afraid to do the work. Get yourself some post hole diggers and just start working out. Your shoulders get big, it's great, it's a beautiful thing. Your arms get a workout, your body stays strong. Do a little manual labor once in a while. It's not going to kill you. It's not legal advice, it might actually kill you. But I'm going to show you guys our holes. So all of our holes here are dug. They're dug every 16 feet. That's when we're going to stick in a post. All of these holes are dug over 3 feet deep. And that takes us down through the frost line and into a packed layer of gravel that's here. Now most of this topsoil for about the first 2.5 feet is very soft. It's very easy to dig. Below that is an extremely hard packed rock gravel bed, and that's what we want to hit because that's what our posts are going to sit on. We're going to smash it down, make sure it's nice and packed, and we're going to put our posts into that, and that's going to give our building the structure to keep it all up and not allow it to sink down into the soft dirt. Here's our hole, guys, and as you can see, some of the dirt has backfilled back in there, and one of my spikes are down in there as well. So this stuff is dug. This stuff is all dug, and so what we're going to do is we're going to build our posts, and when we're ready to put our posts back in, we're going to go back and we're going to dig a little bit more into these holes just to clean out all the stuff that has fallen down in there over the past week that it's been done. Alright guys, so our first step we need to do is to get one of our posts put together. So I'm going to show you guys how to attach it. I'm going to show you guys what we're using to fix it all together. After that, I'm going to show you guys what we need to do to get a nice treated section on this thing, and what that's going to do is help repel moisture throughout the entire life of our post. So first things first, let's get it built. Then we'll come back and talk about what we use to treat it. Guys, for this part, the most important thing we want is to try to find our straightest boards. Since this is going to be holding up our entire building, we want it to be straight. We don't want any leaning, we don't want any twisting. So what I'm doing is I'm going through and I'm trying to find my straightest boards. We definitely don't want any crowning. We want to keep bowing to a minimum, but we can straight it. Twisting, a little bit is okay, but if there's too much twist, it might continue to twist. So we're trying to find our nicest boards for this part. So this bottom one is crowning the opposite direction of the other two. So all we're doing is going to get it to crown the other way. It should follow along much straighter. Now we're going to move these things as we go, and we're going to clamp them. And I'm going to show you guys that process. Alright guys, so the first step in this process is we want to make sure that our end is all nice and straight. So we can see the couple of these are lining up. we use our hammer to tap. Now you guys can use a square to make sure that it's going down nice and straight, that they're all going off the same edge, looking good. So what you want to do is straighten it off of one side. So we're going to follow one side down, because as long as we have one perfect side, then we can use that to line up the entire building. It's okay if the boards aren't the same dimension, but get a straight side. So since we're looking good there, and we're going to square it off of this inside, what we're going to do is we're going to clamp it. And now clamping it is going to take a little bit of twist out. Now this middle one right here has just a little bit of twist, and as we clamp it together, when we screw it all together, it's going to stay together. So I'll set up a couple of clamps and I'll bring it up. So as I do this, what I'm going to do is just work in sections. Basically my first 3-4 feet, I'm going to make sure it's all straight and together, clamped nice and tight. That's where I'm going to work. Then I'm going to fix it together with screws. Then I'm going to move on to the next section. Don't get this section squared away and then go all the way to the end and try to get it all squared away. You're just going to be fighting yourself. Alright guys, so now that we're here, we've got it clamped, we've got it nice and square, and we like it, it's time to put in our first screws. Now what we're going to do is we're going to come up. We're not going to put it right in the end. You never want to screw or nail right in the end of your boards because they have a tendency to split. So we're going to come up about 5 inches and we're going to pilot a couple of holes. Now here's the screws we're using, guys, and as you can see, when this screw is buried right to the top, and we're gonna bury it just a little bit through the board, you can see it's going to go through all 3 of these boards. Now you want to make sure you have screws long enough for a job like this, because as time goes on, if those boards try to pull apart and the screw strips out, it'll come apart, and you don't want that to happen. Now as I'm screwing this, I'm watching these sides and I'm making sure that none of these sides open up. They'll have a tendency as you're going down with the screw to pull apart. And what we want to do, and this is what the clamp is doing, is the clamp is keeping all 3 of them sandwiched nice and tight. And that way they can't open up. When they open up, it allows more moisture to get in there, and we don't want that. So our first one's in, guys. We're going to head down here. We're going to come to just the other side of our other clamp here, which is about 3.5 feet. And we're not quite straight, so we're actually going to move it around a little bit. This is a part of a process. This is part of the process where you really want to take your time and do a good job. Since this is the beginning stages of it, any issue we have down low will transfer up top if we don't do a good job on it. Alright, so we've got that clamped. It looks good. It's nice and tight, so it's not going to pull apart. We're going to come up about 3 feet, 3.5 feet, and we're going to pilot our next set of holes. Guys, we're on to our last one, and on this side it was nice and tight. I just switched that clamp over because it's got a small twist here, so what it was doing was opening up. And even though it was tight on the right side, the left side still needs to get clamped back down. So before I run that screw, I moved my clamp over here and it sucked up that gap. So you can see here about how far I am off the top. As we get this building erected, this is going to be the top of my, basically where the roof goes. Some of these are going to get cut off, and then they're going to get notched as well. So we will be adding more screws in this area once we've created a pocket to have all of our other beams coming into it. So that's something for another episode, but just showing you guys, this is where I ended my screws, about 8 inches off the top.